I'm your host, Effie Pilarinu, and today I have the pleasure to have as a guest Ruchi Nanda. Ruchi Nanda is an industry advisor in capital markets, Microsoft in the US. Welcome, Ruchi.
Thank you for having me.
I understand that you really specialize in wealth management, securities, market infrastructure, and of course, risk and compliance related to the securities industry. That is definitely no low-hanging fruit. Today, what I wanted to discuss with you, Ruchi, is about predictive analytics in the investment space. I see this is part of Microsoft's offering in financial services. And I wanted to discuss with you use cases, the adoption that you are seeing in the spectrum of investments in capital markets, I guess.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the topic.
So tell us, when I think of predictive analytics, should I start thinking of using predictive analytics on the cloud in the investment space, starting from onboarding clients, profiling clients, or are we really benefiting, seeing a return on using predictive analytics in sort of the later stage of the investment process, where we're selecting investments, we're managing risk, and so on? Where should we start?
It's a great question. I think I would first start by looking at what predictive analytics actually is. I often find internally and sometimes externally, predictive analytics is used interchangeably with machine learning, but they're two different things. And if I was to use a metaphor, I'd say predictive analytics is like a crystal ball. It's using statistics to determine future outcomes and performance. And then machine learning is an even smarter crystal ball. It's flexible and it yields better informed predictions. So, first defining what predictive analytics is, that helps us to understand how we can use it. And in the cap markets industry, and specifically, in general in finance, the techniques that I see that are used in predictive analytics are usually around time series, linear regressions, and neural networks. And what I find pretty interesting about neural networks is that it mimics the way that your brain works, which makes a lot more sense than a very rigid regression, linear regression. So, I think if you're looking to use predictive analytics, you need to start by defining what exactly you're trying to solve for. What is the question you're trying to solve for? I think it's applicable across the value chain, from onboarding to downstream analytics. I've seen it used that way by our customers. Where they stumble is that they don't understand what is the prediction they're looking for, because it's predictive analytics, it's not explanatory analytics. What's the question they're seeking to answer? And that's really crucial. And then determining what technique to use, and then having a team, an agile team that owns that analytics product.
Very interesting. So you're talking at the level of sort of behind the scenes, not obviously the end customer, not the financial advisors, though those are users that are benefiting from these predictive analytics. We are talking about where the manufacturing really happens, right?
Right.
Could you give me some examples of players in the capital markets, wealth management, that are actually users? I imagine hedge funds.
For sure. Hedge funds, wealth managers, custodians, institutional investors, they're all using predictive analytics. Actually, a very interesting stat I read yesterday, a survey was conducted and 70-something financial professionals from across these client types want to move away from using Excel as an analytics engine. So they're all using it, they're doing analytics, but they're doing it in Excel, and they're realizing that that's probably not the most efficient way to go about it. So, some of the use cases I see at a very high level, every research department and every investment bank is trying to determine the future direction of the economy, right? It's something that exclusively relies on external data, on time series data, but it's also very challenging because what drives model performance in this case is how complex it is. How many variables have been considered? What are the relationships among those variables? So, that's something that I've seen going on. Another use case that I've seen is around the CAPM model, right? The capital asset pricing model is used extensively in portfolio construction and management. And it's used to determine a security's volatility against that of the markets. And then that information is used to construct a portfolio that aligns to certain risk and return profiles. That's another example of a use case I've seen across financial services. There's compliance and audit prediction, credit score prediction. Those are other use cases. I think I would be remiss not to mention stock market prediction. That's in every investment bank, hedge fund, private equity, they're all doing some sort of stock market prediction that involves using predictive analytics. So specifically, to talk through an example, Voya Financial, one of our customers, is using Azure machine learning to analyze the public transcripts of earnings calls to look at sentiment. And then they're taking that data and incorporating it into their stock selection model. And then you also have data providers like FactSet that are doing something very similar. They have an application called High Impact Transcripts that does something very similar. And it looks at language in earnings call transcripts. And then it identifies, well, what companies are going to experience large fluctuations in the next 20 days. And that data is eventually consumed by their clients.
It's interesting that you said that clients are looking in some cases to move away from using Excel to predictive analytics. It's like within the Microsoft family, but taking the next generation capabilities, right? I mean, to me, one of the recent examples that piqued my curiosity to speak about this topic was the fact that I heard that Bambu, which is a well-known robo or wealth tech from Singapore, business to business, very well known in the fintech space, they are now on, I understand, the Microsoft App Store with wealth management predictive analytics capability that's powered by them. Can you tell us a little bit about that case, which must be a new and sort of more specialized and unique case?
It definitely is. And I'm so excited about this partnership because my focus area is wealth management. So our Bambu partnership, one of the first milestones is to incorporate the predictive planning service that you mentioned into our Dynamics 365 sales and our Microsoft Cloud for financial services. And what makes the predictive planning service really special is that it combines data from the NLS, the National Longitudinal Surveys, and this organization collects information on significant life events a person might experience over time. It takes that data and it divides it into 14 distinct life stages. then the service also will take the information from the client, historical data about their career, marriage, family, finances, of course. And from that, it can determine the probability of a client being in a certain life stage in any year. So for example, when I saw this demo, this piqued my interest because it described for the client, you might have a newborn in 5 years. And that's such a very it's a personal topic. And
Right.
the service was saying, hey, you might have a newborn in 4 to 5 years. And the financial advisors, their screen would show that you can talk to your client about maternity leave. What are the financial products that they might be interested in as they prepare for this life event? Whether it didn't say specifically what it was for, but I imagine that maybe you needed some sort of emergency fund should you had to take maternity leave longer than you expected. You have some sort of, you're saving for that just in case. So I found that really unique because a lot of wealth management firms use pretty basic information about their client: age, retirement, maybe family as well when you're going to purchase a home. But this just extends it so much further into 14 life stages. It's very comprehensive. That I just found it very interesting. We don't have anything like that in our product portfolio today. So it's a very unique addition, and eventually what's on the roadmap is that Bambu will be incorporated into our other business applications, like for example, Dynamics 365 customer insights. It will be incorporated into Teams. And when you think about that, that would be such a great experience for a financial advisor. They're already collaborating with their clients today in Teams, in Zoom, in Slack, all of those. But if they were in Teams and they could easily access this service rather than having to jump to another app on their desktop or CRM, it makes for such a more user-friendly experience for the financial advisor. So I'm really excited about that.
Very interesting, extremely interesting. And I know that Bambu is already behind a different, what I would call wealth as a service. They are an enabler and they are providing these services to other banks and asset managers and so on. What's interesting to me is that Microsoft is clearly growing the ecosystem around Microsoft Cloud Financial Services and integrating it with the rest of the ecosystem that exists. How did this journey start with a focus in financial services? I think the market is now realizing the commitment and the power they can unlock. Can you share with us, a bit of this journey?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for us, I'd say. I've been at Microsoft for a little over 3 years, and just before I joined, we went through this process where our CEO, Satya Nadella, was meeting with the CEOs in financial services. And the guidance that they gave him was that if you are seeking to penetrate our business, you really need to understand us. And today, you treat us just like a manufacturer, a pharmaceutical company, or in consumer goods. We're not like them, and you need to recognize that. So Satya really took that feedback, and we went through a pilot where we had about 15 to 20 financial services firms in their own vertical. And that proved to be very successful. We got really good feedback from those firms that we were starting to understand their business. Mm-hmm. After that experiment, we created a financial services vertical. This was about the time that I joined Microsoft. And back then we actually had insurance and cap markets and banking were actually grouped together at first. But then we had an important realization that retail banking and wealth management are not the same. Investment banking is nothing like consumer banking. They're not the same. They might be under the same firm. There might be a firm that does both, but you have to treat them differently. So then we created the insurance, banking, and capital markets verticals. And that's helped us a lot because it shows to our customers that we understand their business. We're making the effort to understand what specific challenges and needs that they're facing. Part of our journey was hiring people from industry like me. My background is in risk and regulatory consulting, and a lot of that was as a result of regulatory compliance, the digital transformation that firms will go through. I have experience in that. So they've hired people like me, people who are Wall Street veterans, into the firm because we intimately understand what's going on in the front, middle, and back office. We've also upskilled our employees. We have things like Financial Services University at Microsoft, where we've upskilled our colleagues who don't have a background in financial services to understand, well, what is my customer really looking to do? What do they mean when they say, I'm forecasting the direction of the economy? What does that even mean?
Right, right. Yeah, as I said in the beginning, this is no low-hanging fruit. This is not really just understanding the technology. You have to understand how the business works behind the scenes. And it's pretty complex, plus all the regulatory issues that keep evolving, right?
Right.
And that will never stop. It's an ongoing process. And so where would you say the journey is? I guess the vertical started 3 years ago, and the capital markets, which includes wealth management, is relatively new from what I understand, right?
Yeah, it's relatively new, and we're going even further to look at cap markets, and there are actually 8 type of client types in our vertical. There's hedge funds, investment banks, private equity, among others. So now we've gone further and recognized there are different horizontals that need to be treated differently as well. So we're still on the journey. It's an ongoing journey, but I think we've done very well so far in that. And the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services is something that we're doing in lockstep that shows that we understand the industry. The Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services, to me, although there aren't many new solutions in it, it's like a package that can be used to accelerate a firm's business.
Very interesting. And you're growing the partner ecosystem, right? I mean, I knew that from the banking side, I knew partners like Bambu and Backbase in the loan business. And I guess you will be growing that part in the capital markets area.
For sure. We've been doing that. And one of the things that we recognize at Microsoft is that we have really great first-party capabilities, but we look to our partners to extend those capabilities and make them specific to customers. I mention oftentimes in customer meetings, we're not experts in wealth management, and we'll never claim to be, but we have the right technology to enable those who can help you solve your problems.
Excellent. Ruchi, thanks you so much for these insights, and I'm sure we'll be able to follow up a year down the road and see where this journey has taken us. The industry is definitely evolving. They've bought the story. Everybody understands that digitalization is the only way, and an ecosystem approach is the only way also, be it with tech providers, be it with suppliers, customers, business partners. It's all has to be a collaborative effort.
Completely. We're all on the journey together.
Thank you very much, Ruchi, again.